On July 12, 2024, in Nairobi, a woman experienced a haunting dream that would unravel one of Kenya's most chilling crime stories. In that dream, she saw her sister, who had mysteriously disappeared on June 26th, just a day after the Kenyan youth stormed parliament amid growing reports of abductions and extrajudicial killings related to the anti-finance bill protests. In the dream, her sister seemed to reveal that she was trapped at the Kware dump site near the Mukuru Kwanjenga slums. The very next morning, desperate for answers, she approached a local diver and persuaded him to search the site. What they uncovered there would horrify the entire nation.
Dismembered human body parts, a dog's carcass and garbage are the contents of the 5 sacks that had been retrieved from the Kware dump site in Mukuru Kwanjenga
that were found dumped at a quarry in Pipeline, Nairobi, which is being used as a dump site.
The prime suspect was arrested barely 3 days after the first bodies were discovered. According to the police, he allegedly confessed to murdering as many as 42 women in just 2 years, including his own wife. The speed of the arrest, however, raised quiet suspicion. Was it truly an investigative breakthrough or a hurried move to calm a shocked and outraged public?
Hakuna venye watu wanaweza kufa hapa shimo ya Kware na tuko na stations zimetusurround. Ni kumaanisha maaskari wafanyangi kazi yao.
Bana, watoto alafu nasema ni mtu mmoja ameua watu 42 since 2022. Kwani hakuna askari anafanya kazi? Bana, watu si wajinga bwana.
In an ironic twist, the alleged serial killer mysteriously escaped police custody, and from that moment on, he vanished without a trace. The disappearance left behind a haunting question. Was this man a criminal mastermind so calculating that he outwitted the system entirely, or was this escape story another cover-up for what really happened? In this episode, we revisit those horrific events, trace the stories around them, and examine the holes in the official narrative about the Kware bodies to see if Kenya witnessed the work of one of the most ruthless serial killers or the symptoms of something far more systemic. Be sure to like the video if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel for more investigative stories from Kenya. The retrieval of the bodies from the Kware quarry should have been led by the police and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, who had the budget, the gear, and even a modern forensic lab built in 2022 for exactly this kind of cases. Yet, when the bodies surfaced, the police officers were reluctant to take charge. It was local divers and volunteers working without protective gear or equipment who went into the quarry. When Acting Inspector General Douglas Kanja announced that 8 bodies had been officially recovered, he also transferred the officers stationed at Kware Police Station. He claimed this was to guarantee an unbiased investigation, but it raised more questions than answers. Why transfer them instead of investigating them? DCI boss Mohamed Amin suggested they could be dealing with 3 options: a serial killer, a cult, or even a rogue medical practitioner, since some bodies were packed with medical equipment. None of the 3 options suggested the possibility of extrajudicial activities, despite Kware Police Station being just 100 meters away from the scene. As many families waited at the Nairobi City mortuary for DNA identification, among the identified was Josephine Mulongo Owino, the woman who had reportedly visited her sister in a dream and led them to the scene. During the investigation that followed her identification, police claimed they detected activity on her phone and M-PESA account after her death. This digital trail reportedly led them directly to Collins Jumaisi Halusha. It was a remarkably careless move, if true, especially given that the Kware body story had been trending news for days. In the early hours of July 15th, the suspect was arrested in Kayole, tracked by that very phone. He was not in hiding, but found outside a nightclub after watching the Euro 2024 final between Spain and England. The behavior seemed inconsistent with someone who had supposedly evaded capture for 2 years while committing multiple murders.
So this morning, it is true, we arrested one suspect whom we found in possession of one of the handsets belonging to one of the victims, whose body was identified yesterday at the city mortuary by the relatives.
Using a dead person's phone and M-PESA account at such a moment didn't sound like the actions of a calculated serial killer. After his arrest, police reported that the suspect directed them to a hideout barely 500 meters away from the quarry. Inside, they found SIM card holders, smartphones, a laptop, machetes, and sacks identical to those found at the crime scene, laid out in plain sight, as if he had neither fled nor bothered to conceal the evidence. Without any DNA confirmation, the DCI claimed that a machete found at the scene was the dismemberment tool, the sellotape had been used to silence victims, and most bizarrely, presented 5 rolls of some weed and 2 pairs of women's underwear as crucial evidence, again without any DNA testing to link them to any victims.
We have a machete that in the course of investigation, he confesses to have been using to dismember the bodies. We have 2 underwears which we believe belongs to the victims.
The evidence itself raised eyebrows. Every SIM card holder recovered was from Airtel, who had gained favor with Gen Z protesters. Only weeks earlier, Safaricom had bowed to state pressure by deliberately slowing down internet access during the anti-finance bill protests, a move later confirmed and exposed through leaks from a WhatsApp group tied to the president's inner circle. It also didn't help that Safaricom has been long accused of aiding and abetting surveillance, abductions, and extrajudicial killings. But whether they formed the picture of a prolific killer or a narrative constructed to calm a nation was the question that lingered. 3 days after his arrest, Collins found himself in an interrogation room. According to DCI boss Mohammed Amin, the suspect had confessed to systematically luring, killing, and disposing of 42 women at the Kware dump site between 2022 and July 2024, including his own wife. If true, this would make him one of Africa's most prolific serial killers in modern history. The systemic nature of the alleged crimes seemed to corroborate the confession, but then something unexpected happened. He told the court that DCI officers had tortured him and forced him to confess to the gruesome murders. The confession that had seemed so definitive was now being disputed by the very person who allegedly gave it. The suspect's lawyer even called it laughable to suggest that he had confessed to such crimes. Officials, however, maintain that the interrogation followed proper procedures and that the confession was obtained legally. Despite this, there was a glaring contradiction that was just about to emerge next. With local divers and volunteers ready to continue searching the quarry for the remaining bodies, something troubling happened. Authorities abruptly halted the recovery process, blocking anyone from entering.
Sasa zaidi ya 20 ziko pale zimelala na kuna watu sasa wako pale na makarao wataki watu wengine wakoe pale. So lazima muhakikishe kama nyinyi mnafaitia raia muende pale.
Despite the alleged confession to the police indicating more victims in the quarry, the search was mysteriously stopped. Even more disturbing, multiple sources confirmed that police had threatened the volunteer divers, warning that they would be charged for any body that they retrieved, stopping the retrieval completely.
Lakini tukapatana na vitisho sana. Hata wakati nilikuwa nikitoa hizo mili, kuna makara walinishika na wakaniambia wanaweza nificha mbali sana nisioonekana.
By late July 2024, despite the growing inconsistencies and the suspect's retracted confession, the case still appeared to be moving toward resolution. The suspect was securely held at Gigiri police station, secretly transferred from Kayole. But what happened next will transform this story into something stranger than fiction. On Tuesday, the morning of August 20th, 2024, just a month later, officers at Gigiri police station made a discovery that would embarrass the entire Kenya law enforcement establishment. Collins Jumaisi was gone, vanished. Along with him, 12 Eritrean migrants had also mysteriously disappeared from the same supposedly secure station. According to the official report, the inmates had somehow escaped during the night by cutting through wire mesh and scaling perimeter walls before disappearing into Nairobi. But sources within the police force revealed details to NTV that completely destroyed this narrative. First, a police source confirmed that the cell manager had served breakfast to the suspect and 2 other men that morning, men who were supposedly part of the group that had escaped hours earlier. How were they present for breakfast if they had already fled? Second, police procedures require roll calls at least 3 times during every night shift, plus a mandatory 6 a.m. shift change. If they had truly escaped during the night, wouldn't officers have discovered the empty cells during these routine checks? Most damning was the facility's design. Gigiri police station has only one gate leading to the main road, an area with heavy 24-hour security due to nearby diplomatic installations, with the United Nations having a very heavy presence in the area. Somehow, according to officials, 13 people escaped undetected through this single, heavily monitored exit without triggering any single alarm.
Detectives are of the view that human trafficking is a serious transnational organized crime and well-funded. They want to establish where the proceeds of human trafficking played a role in the escape, and Collins Halusha, the murder suspect, took advantage. Police tried to retrieve CCTV footage adjacent to the point where the suspects are said to have jumped from the top of a roof, only to realize the CCTV camera was not functional.
But here's where the story becomes even more unbelievable. If Collins Jumaisi truly escaped, how has he remained hidden for over 1 year now? His face had been plastered across every newspaper and television screen in Kenya, linked to 42 gruesome murders. Unlike other cases, he wasn't just a criminal. He was supposedly one of the most notorious killers in the country's history. To put it into perspective, consider the case of Masten Wanjala, another suspected serial killer who escaped police custody in 2021. Wanjala had confessed to killing 10 children, but when he escaped and returned to his home village in Bungoma, angry residents recognized him immediately and the mob justice was swift and brutal. Wanjala was killed by the villagers who knew exactly who he was. If Colin Jumaisi, who is linked to even more murders and had far more media coverage than Wanjala, was truly roaming free, wouldn't he have faced similar community justice by now? His alleged crimes were more than heinous, his face more recognizable, yet somehow he vanished without a trace, like a ghost. This raises a chilling possibility that few ever want to consider. What if Colin Jumaisi never really escaped at all? What if he served his purpose as a convenient scapegoat, and when he refused to play along, when he retracted his confession and claimed torture, he probably became a liability, a loose end? The foreign nationals who allegedly escaped with him provided perfect cover. If it were 13 Kenyans, the public would demand names and photos of the escapees. But foreign nationals, much harder to verify, much easier to claim they've all escaped. The contradiction in the suspect's supposed abilities is striking. He was supposedly calculated enough to commit 42 murders without being caught, but careless enough to be caught using the victim's phone after her case was trending nationwide. That he told on himself and his criminal activity, even if there was no evidence against him, yet suddenly became a criminal mastermind capable of escaping a secure police station and vanishing without a trace. It defies logic. It's almost like he was both an idiot and criminal mastermind, depending on the narrative being peddled. the families of all victims still in the quarry have been denied justice through what appears to be institutional interference. 3 days after police stopped the retrieval, the quarry was set on fire by people believed by witnesses to be policemen destroying evidence. Multiple sources claim they saw uniformed officers visit the site every night up to 2 days before the fire broke out. Since then, the quarry at Kware has been altered to prevent future discoveries, and the volunteers who risked their lives to rescue the bodies were silenced through threats. Everyone agrees that the Kware search ended too soon, with more bodies still believed to be in the pit. Yet, the official response remains unchanged. The case of Kenya's most prolific serial killer has been reduced to periodic appeals for information about a ghost. In a case that began with a sister's prophetic dream, the real nightmare may be the realization that sometimes the very system meant to deliver justice chooses instead to bury the truth, along with those who threaten to expose it.